So Hogwarts Legacy is out. Let's talk about it. This is gonna be a short video just to give you my first impressions of the game before I really dive into it. So here we go. First I should address the so-called controversy of this game. It's all bullshit. J.K. Rowling said some things that went against the teachings of the cult, and now the game and anyone supporting the game needs to be cancelled with extreme prejudice, going as far as coming up with this thing that lets you know if any heretic out there is streaming that wizard game. The person that made this literally went with the game that shall not be named route, with the game set in the Harry Potter universe.
His name was...
That's a dumb name. No wonder he turned evil.
Or maybe she wrote it down.
No, I can't spell it.
You can't make this shit up. Scientists around the world are still contemplating on the possibility of living in an artificial world, but all they would have to do is open Twitter and they would know with 100% certainty that we are indeed living in a simulation. And of course all this had the opposite effect, and now everyone and their goldfish are playing Hogwarts Legacy. People that had no interest in the game are now playing it, and everyone's praising it. I can't help but think this was some sort of big brain 3D chess move from the developers just to sell more copies. Now this also brings up another issue. You see, people don't like to be told what they can and can't do, so I'm worried that people will turn a blind eye to any issue the game might have just to spite the people that are against the game, while those people will continue to hate the game even if it turns out to be a good one. It's complete madness, and objectivity is the first victim.
It's dogs and cats living together, mass hysteria!
The same thing happened a couple of years ago when Bethesda released Fallout 76, which was a complete dumpster fire. People started looking at Obsidian's new game, The Outer Worlds, which was seen as the polar opposite, the Fallout we should have gotten. People couldn't stop praising the thing. No one was even remotely saying anything bad about the game. It was like the gaming gods came down from above and bestowed upon us the perfect game, when in all honesty the game was ass. Sure, it wasn't Fallout 76 levels of bad, but it was a pretty simplistic and dumbed down game with almost no personality, a cookie cutter space junk. It was the weakest Obsidian game, but it was praised like one of their best, and this is coming from someone who loves Obsidian games. Take Pillars of Eternity for example. It didn't get this royal treatment and it was a much better game, but The Outer Worlds was compared to Fallout 76, so the public couldn't stop sucking its big fat dick.
So, what can I get you? Some soap? Everyone loves soap.
Going back to the game that shall not be named, I want to be objective about this. If the game sucks, I'll tear it a new one, and if it's good, I'll praise it. I'll get a video out of it anyways, so why not be objective? You don't need to support something just to spite someone else, because that's how you get a cult.
It's all about the greater good.
So now with that out the way, let's dive into the actual game. Now, as I've said at the beginning, this is a short video just to give you my first impressions of the game, from start all the way up to Hogwarts proper and a bit of exploration around the place. So tiny spoilers for the first 30 minutes or so. However, I will try and skip over as much of the story as possible, focusing instead more on everything else. So right off the bat, the game manages to capture the magic of the Harry Potter universe. So far the game sounds and feels right, with the very first thing you get presented with being the acceptance letter to Hogwarts.
You're a wizard, Harry.
After that, it's straight off to the character creation, and I didn't expect anything crazy here. I already assumed you can't create some sort of Gimli monstrosity, but I did expect a little bit more than what I got. You practically can't do anything, and by the end they all seem the same. And one thing I will say is don't mess around with the voice pitch. It uses some sort of weird auto-tune sounding filter, and it makes your character sound really weird. Keep it on mid, I'd say.
It was wonderful. I believe I'm really going to enjoy this class. That was quite something. A few cobwebs and some dust. Nothing to be concerned about. I am indeed a student, but I could very well be able to help you.
After that, you jump directly in the game. Apparently you're joining Hogwarts as a 5th year student, and you've been prepped to do this by Professor Fig. The game doesn't really explain how or why we got to this point in our life where we're hanging out with this eccentric old man. I mean, this isn't Back to the Future, but I'm sure they'll explain later on, right? But we don't have time for that. There's whimsy to be had. You see, our protagonist is special. He can see ancient magic and stuff. Unfortunately, it all gets cut short because a dragon run amok from How to Feed Your Dragon tries to eat my main character. Fortunately for both of us, the dragon only manages to eat our more rotund friend, while me and Professor Fig manage to portkey out of there. Hey, this owl here looks suspicious and oddly plump. I wonder... Nah, couldn't be. Anyways, we get teleported and finally given control of our character. Now the movement and everything seems okay. It's definitely one of those walking games for me since the game looks amazing. I'm playing this on PC by the way. However, there is this slight shimmer going on when moving and stopping. I don't know what it is, but it's a bit distracting and I can't seem to make it go away. You might say it's a nitpick, but I shouldn't be able to find one this fast, this early in the game. Jumping ahead over some story elements and you are presented with your first combat of the game. It felt okay-ish, I guess, almost like fighting as Batman in the Arkham series, with you having to block at the right moment, and I can see the fighting improving a lot once you get more spells and stuff. Fast forwarding over some more story again, and we finally arrive at Hogwarts. Okay, we need Ace Ventura on the case, cause that bird is up to something. As soon as I took my first steps in the Gryffindor dormitory, it felt right. It felt magical. They managed to capture the atmosphere perfectly. If you were worried about that, don't be. Everything feels the way it should.
It's good. It's good. It's good.
The characters, on the other hand, give me a slight Andromeda feeling. Now it's too early to tell, but your interactions with the characters does seem a bit limited, but I'll have to play more of the game to figure it out and come to a conclusion. So before I end this video and jump back in the game, there is one more thing we really need to address, which is very, very, very important. The performance. It's fucking abysmal. I'm playing this on one of the best PCs you can get right now, and in some areas the FPS drops between 50 and 60. Look at this, man.
Look at it!
And this is with DLSS on. Not that that matters, because with or without it, you would only see a slight improvement. Wait, did it go in the 40s? This is completely unacceptable, and I think the developers knew that the PC version had issues, because why else would they let people play the console versions first? The next gen ones. I think people who have the old gen don't even get to play this one, but I digress. Fix this shit. Look, I pre-ordered so you don't have to. So if you're planning on getting this on PC, consider waiting. Maybe they'll fix this with a day one patch or something on the 10th, because the current performance is completely unacceptable. How are people with older GPUs gonna play this? And I've looked around on the internet and it seems a lot of people are complaining about this, so hopefully it will get addressed. From what I can see, at least in my case, the game might be bottlenecked on the CPU side, but it shouldn't be, or at least not to this extent. Now I can play it, my beast of a rig can normally pump out FPS somewhere around low Earth orbit, so it will manage. But what about people with other GPUs? People are having issues with any and all GPUs. All I can say is that developers need to make this their top priority, leave everything else, and fix the damn performance on the PC. As for consoles, apparently those don't have this issue, so if you're planning on getting the game on consoles, I think you're safe. Still, I think you should never pre-order. So these are my thoughts of the first 30 minutes or so of the game. Hopefully it helps you out in making a decision. And if you liked the video, please consider subscribing, it would really help out my channel.